The owners of Super Spy 007 have a license to sell. But does anyone want to buy? MGM Studios is facing a January deadline to pay down massive debt. Greg Miles has a little bit more on the story. And I don't know, Greg, you can show us some of your super spy tools later. But in the meantime, we need to know what private equity firms are up to.
Yes, I do, Jared. This might be a license to get killed, okay, for anybody who buys this thing. Well, private equity firms bought MGM 5 years ago for $5 billion. And since then, it's been a financial disaster, as its value has fallen and debt's risen. That's one reason why even a rash of potential buyers may not create a bidding war for the studio. The potential suitors include Time Warner, News Corp, and Sony, according to people familiar with the situation.
All these media companies have had issues with past M&A activity, have been perceived as overpaying or clearly overpaid. I think the last thing that Jeff Bewkes is going to want to do over at Time Warner is to be perceived as paying too heady a price for MGM. So I'm not saying there's collusion among the bidders, but I'm certainly saying this is not something that's going to fly out of control.
Well, founded in 1924, MGM owns a library of some 4,100 titles that includes the Rocky and Pink Panther franchises. They own the controlling interest of the James Bond franchise and are planning on a new James Bond movie. They are also filming The Hobbit. But analysts say that MGM has a host of problems. Look at this. High overhead costs, a mountain of debt, nearly $4 billion worth, hundreds of millions of dollars in annual interest payments. In fact, lenders have granted MGM yet another delay until January 31st to pay mounting interest costs.
Realistically, with MGM and with the nature of the movie business, I mean, this is a different animal. And they need something more of a, more of a root canal approach to the capital structure as opposed to just, finessing out, extending out the maturities.
Well, the root canal, I mean, that sounds painful, and this means that any buyer of MGM may have to win major concessions from lenders before buying it or force a drastic restructuring as MGM's new owner. Now, that means turning around the studio could be a long and messy operation, or Deirdre, a messy picture.
All right, Greg. Well, I want to know just first and foremost, I mean, is bankruptcy a risk for MGM?
Well, Deirdre, it certainly is a risk, according to the people I talked to, but they say that lenders are going to do anything they can to avoid it, because if they had to file, that the value of MGM would fall even more drastically.